Okay, thank you so much for joining. It's great to see so many of you here to learn about the summer student program. My name is Dr. Amina Veri, and I am the manager of the Office of Research Trainees. And it is my job to support students and postdocs, and as well as all of our summer students throughout their time that they're at UHN. And so it is my passion to be here to try and help you all to understand how you can join UHN this summer and trying to help make summer research positions more accessible to everybody. I'm supported here by my colleague, Jordan Beck, who is the coordinator of the Office of Research Trainees. And we're very grateful to have a bunch of different speakers that are joining us today to provide their insights and tips on how you can have a summer research position this summer. So there's lots to talk about and lots of content, so we're going to jump straight in. I first want to start with just acknowledging the land that we're on. This is a very important process in order to be able to recognize that the land that we're on has been lived on for many years by many different people. I'm coming to you today as a family I come from a family of immigrants. So this is really important for me to be grateful for the land that we're on, as it has given me so many different opportunities, including the opportunity to learn and grow here. So we're going to start by understanding the land that UHN operates on. There's been a UHN hospital on this land since 1829. Long before that, Indigenous people were its stewards. They, as their descendants, and we at UHN now, learned, shared knowledge, and healed each other. Regardless of where we sit today, we owe much to the peoples that have called this land home. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. This land is now home to many First Nations peoples, Inuit and Métis people, and we are grateful to have this opportunity to live and work here. We remember and honor the legacy of the peoples who have been here before us and all who work to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real. So I'd love to take a second and give you all the chance to think about the land that you're on. I know many of you may be joining from different places. And so if you're interested in learning about the land that you're on, you can text your information to the link on the side here, as well as you can look at the resources using this QR code. Okay, so just a couple of guidelines before we get any further. We will be sharing the presentation slides as well as the recording. And so we're going to be sharing lots and lots of tips today, lots of links. So you don't have to worry, we'll all share all of that with you. So you don't have to take feverish notes or be worried about missing anything. We ask that you remain muted and keep your video off at all times. We have a Slido set up for you to be able to ask your questions. Please ask all of your questions in Slido. It helps us to moderate the chat and help make sure that the most popular questions get answered. And Jordan will be putting that link in the chat. And overall, we just want you to know that this is a safe space. We really want everyone to be really respectful of each other and in the environment, and anybody who doesn't follow that code of conduct that we abide by and that you all agreed to when you signed up, we will have you removed. So let's all be respectful so we don't have to do that. Okay, so we're going to go through quickly all of the topics that we're going to cover today. There's a lot of ground to cover. We're going to start with an introduction to UHN as well as the research happening at UHN Research. We're going to go through some of the tips of what you can expect if you do get a summer position at UHN. We're going to talk a lot about what all of you submitted is what you were really interested in, is how to learn how to apply for summer research positions at UHN. And there's many different processes by which you can do that. We have some representatives that are joining us that will help you to understand the opportunities that are available to you. We're very fortunate to have a UHN scientist with us, Dr. Jennifer Campos, and she'll be sharing her tips on how to apply to these summer research positions and how to be a competitive applicant. We are also very excited to have a former UHN summer student here, and he will also be sharing his tips as well. And then lastly, we'll save lots of time for the Q&A. So first, we'll get started. We have a very comprehensive website that has a lot of the information that we're going to talk about today. There's various parts of it that I'll link to again throughout. We have different databases of different summer student programs, different summer student awards, different educational opportunities, and you can find all of that as well as other tips on our website. The recording to this session will also live on our website, so you can refer to it at any point in time. This page also will include summer job postings when we have them available and any other information we think that would be useful to you. If you visit our website, you can also see all of the other opportunities that we have throughout the year. Most of our workshops and things are always available to everybody, so you're welcome to join. Even if you're not working at UHN, you can enjoy joining our summer research sessions where we learn about different topics or any of the workshops we have. So definitely check out our website. Okay, so the first thing we want to start with is why would you even consider participating in summer research? And many of you are here because you're already interested, which is amazing. But in case you're wondering, whether this is something for you, there are a lot of benefits and published research has been done to show the benefits of participating in experiential learning like summer research. The first is that you can explore whether you even like research or not. Many of you might be wondering whether it's a good career area for you in the future. And the best way to test that out is by jumping in and trying it yourself. You can also get very valuable experiences that will help you apply to graduate school or professional schools. Many of the graduate schools in Ontario require you to have previous research experience, so this is a great step to get you there, as well as many other programs like medical school also look at any kind of research experience you have, and that can contribute towards your competitive ability for those positions. Research positions also help you to build an understanding of the research process, as well as build your research skills, as well as your communication skills, your scientific understanding, your self-confidence, and lots more. And that's something we work actively on to help you to build your communication skills and presenting your research and presenting science as a whole, as well as understanding different areas of research that you can go into and the skills you would need to be able to be successful in that. You can also explore potential careers in research and healthcare. So if you come to work at UHN for the summer, you'll have the opportunity to meet many different people who have careers in different areas in the healthcare and research space. And by being in this space, you really give yourself the chance to be familiarized with some of these positions and see if they're right for you. Again, meeting all of those people helps you to build your network, and we all have heard many times that networking is important for achieving our career goals. So this is a valuable way that you can do that. And lastly, you can have fun. I will say that many, many, many years ago, I did summer research at a hospital in Toronto, not UHN, but a different one. And it was so impactful for me to be able to figure out whether I liked research or not. And ultimately, that led me to going into grad school and getting my PhD, but also just for having an engaging and exciting summer where I got to learn a lot of new things, be exposed to a lot of areas that I hadn't before, and it left a deep impact on me. And so that's why I'm so passionate about helping people like you to access these positions. Okay, so next up, why choose UHN? There are lots of hospitals in Toronto, and there's lots of places that you can do research across Ontario. But we want to tell you a little bit about the unique nature of UHN. So UHN, if you're not familiar with, is the University Health Network. It consists of 4 different hospitals. You have Princess Margaret, Toronto General, Toronto Western, and Toronto Rehab. It also includes 1 educational center. And through that, it also has these research institutes intertwined with the hospitals, and there are 6 of those, and each one has a particular research focus. And we'll be going into the research at UHN in a little bit in a second. And so the impact and the breadth of this research is very broad. You can see that we have 1,194 principal investigators. That's a lot of different scientists working at UHN, all working on really important healthcare related research. This results in a lot of productivity, including 4,213 publications per year. And that's the stats from 2023 from our annual report. We have tons and tons of research funding and lots of research space all across Toronto. So the size of UHN is huge. It's the largest university hospital network, or the largest hospital research network in the country. And as you can see here, it is rated #1 as Canada's top research hospital, and it has been in that position for many, many years. So it's widely respected as a strong place for both healthcare and for research. Now, as I mentioned, UHN research is split into 6 different research institutes, and you can see the names of them here. We're going to be going into them a little bit more in a second. What's really cool about this is that we have these centers that are focused on specific topics of research. So if you join UHN, you'll have not only the whole resources of UHN, you'll also have a little community that is focused on an area of research similar to yours. And so that really allows you to have other opportunities for educational building, community building, and lots more. And the research at UHN is so vast and so exciting. It makes me excited every day to work here because it covers so many topics from basic science, computational science, translational research, clinical research, and everything you can think of. And I know a lot of you wrote in the registration the areas that we're interested in stem cells and cardiology and research for pharmacists and lots of different things, and UHN has it all. So we'll jump into talking a little bit about the research institutes, and we're just going to do this very quickly. You can learn more about all of them on the UHN research website. But the first off is KITE, and this is our research institute that is associated with the Toronto Rehab Institute. And you can see some of the main topics here that they focus on. It has a wide range of research, including artificial intelligence, robotics, a lot of work on rehabilitation, cardiorespiratory fitness, brain discovery, mobility, sleep science, and lots more. And some of the images that we have here are some of the really cool labs that they have at Toronto Rehab, where they have these simulation labs. You can see a driver lab at the bottom, where they can do different tests on these cars in the simulation experience to do different studies on things like helping elderly people stay driving for longer, or assessing different factors that affect driving capabilities. So it's really cool research, and Jenny's here and she'll know, she gave me a tour of their facilities once and it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. So definitely check out their website so you can see more and get a view of all of their facilities. Next up, we have Krembil, and this is our research institute that is associated with Toronto Western Hospital, and they have boundless amounts of research on different topics. A lot of it is focused around brain and neuroscience, and I know a lot of you are interested in that. There's lots of different elements of that, including clinical and computational neuroscience. They look at dementia and neurodegenerative disorders like concussions and Alzheimer's. They study arthritis and different bone and joint disorders, as well as they have a sub-institute on eye disorders. And so there's lots of research going on at Krembil that's exciting in this area related to brain, arthritis, bones, and things like that. Next up, we have MacEwan Stem Cell Institute, which, as its name suggests, focused on stem cells. And I know stem cells is such an interesting topic that many of you are interested in, that you spoke about. But they do a variety of research in regenerative medicine, stem cells, blood cancer, cardiac regeneration, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, liver disease, and much more. So definitely a cool place to consider working at if you're interested in stem cells. Next up, we have Princess Margaret Cancer Center, which is associated with the Princess Margaret Hospital, and many of you might be aware of the Princess Margaret Hospital because of their many campaigns to raise money, including the Ride to Conquer Cancer, as well as the home lotteries and cottage lotteries that you can win. But the research going on at Princess Margaret is very focused on cancer research, as the name might suggest. They have lots of topics covering all spectrums of cancer research, including things like cancer biology and imaging, computational biology and medicine, genetics and epigenetics, immuno-oncology. So if you're interested in immunology, there might be a place for you here at Princess Margaret, and lots more. And what's really cool, Princess Margaret also has a website. If you know that you're specifically interested in one of these areas, you can scan this QR code and learn about the scientists, or specifically identify scientists working in those categories. So definitely impactful research all on cancer. We also have an education research institute called TIER. So this is the Institute for Education Research. They do lots of cool research on different topics related to teaching, learning, and practice. We have research on society, systems, and structures, as well as technology, innovation, and simulation. And I know that might not spark a lot of thoughts. You may not know what that means, but for example, we have researchers who are looking at operating rooms and the communication happening in operating rooms and seeing how they can make that even better to make surgeries happen more seamlessly. There's other work that they have on creating simulation labs so that oncologists or different kinds of physicians can learn different techniques in their simulation labs. So there's lots of cool stuff going on there. Next we have Toronto General, which is associated with the Toronto General Hospital. They have lots of research topics on a wide variety of different things. So they have cardiovascular health, community health, diabetes, endocrinology, infectious disease, kidney, liver, lungs, and they have a very exciting and reputable transplantation program. One of the things that's really cool that was discovered at Toronto General and is an active research area is this technique that you can see on the left, where they do cardio or lung perfusions. Sorry. So it's a process in which they have lungs sitting outside of the body while they're waiting to be transplanted, and they keep it alive and they filter it and they look at all those different factors to make sure that it can be a successful transplant. They also have a really cool program where they've been transporting organs by drones between the different areas of Toronto, and they're expanding that. And if you haven't seen those videos yet, definitely Google it, Toronto General Transplant Drones. It's a very exciting area of research. Okay. So I hope that's giving you just a glimpse. There's so much going on at UHN. I can't tell you everything, but if you're interested in learning more, we have an annual report that gets put out every single year where you can learn about some of the impactful stories and research advances that have happened. You can also learn about each institute even a little bit more, get a glimpse of what they're working on. And you can reach that here. Our research report this year is called Reaching Our North Star. Another way you can learn more about the research happening at UHN is by listening to our podcast. So this is a podcast we've recently developed. It's in its second season. It's called the Seeds of Science podcast. And it's a podcast particularly made by graduate students and postdoctoral researchers for students and postdocs to be able to learn more about the research happening at UHN, as well as the stories of how they've gotten into research, tips that they have for other researchers, and much, much more. So I definitely recommend you check it out. A new episode comes out today, and has such wonderful stories of the trainees at UHN. There's also many other podcasts at UHN that you can check out as well. Okay, so now let's jump into the meat of what you all came here for, which is understanding the summer student program, what it is, who is eligible, and what to expect. So our overarching summer student program is called the UHN Summer Training and Research Program. This is a kind of umbrella program. So as long as you are working at UHN for the summer, you will be part of this program, regardless of whether you're hired through another program. And me and Jordan run this program every summer, and it is such a wonderful way to help you to have a great time at UHN for the summer. So the first part will be, of course, what you come for is the summer research project that you'll do under the supervision of a UHN scientist, and we'll tell you more about how you can set that up in a bit. But throughout the time that you're here over the summer, there are also educational sessions that we offer on a lot of different topics. These are research and professional development, skill building opportunities. So last year we talked about grad school, resume building, CV building, LinkedIn. We talked about library tools to help your research and lots more. Like I mentioned before, these sessions are open to you even if you don't land a summer research position at UHN. You will also have the opportunity to share your research at a research day, and this will help you to build your communication skills, and it is a great opportunity. And then any student who completes all of the components of the program will receive a certificate of program completion. Next, who is eligible for UHN summer research positions? The vast majority of our summer researchers are undergraduate students, and you're all welcome to apply at any stage or experience level. You do not have to be in later stages of your degree. You do not have to have prior research experience. Anybody is welcome. We also have lots of summer research students that come as medical students who have breaks in the summer, and they do research. All health professional learners, nurses, occupational scientists, speech pathologists, anybody who is learning a healthcare professional in a healthcare professional field is welcome if they have time off in their summers to join research. We also have some graduate students join, ones who have work placements. And also high school students over 16 years old can also have high school summer research positions. If anybody here is in high school, I highly recommend you check out the UHN STEM Pathways webpage, and it's linked here. They are UHN's outreach program, and they provide lots of resources and support to high school students, including high school students who are looking for research positions. Now, this is just a general criteria. Basically, a lot of people can work at UHN for the summer. The criteria are not very restrictive, but each lab that you apply to or each program might also have very specific requirements. So it's important that you apply to programs and labs and look at what the other requirements they have. So now what to expect for your summer position. So first is we encourage everybody to find paid research positions at UHN. And if you have a paid research position, you must be paid at least minimum wage, which has gone up recently, so it's now $16.50. And this comes even if you have awards. So some people will get awards for their summer research and they might get a lump sum, but it must equate, we promise you'll make at least minimum wage. Many positions also offer higher than minimum wage. It depends on each individual program and each individual position. There are some volunteer positions as well, but we highly encourage you to seek out paid research positions because not everybody has access or the capability to take on a volunteer position. The start dates and terms of work, including how many hours a week you will work, are all flexible. There are no requirements for this program of when you have to start. So once you set up a position with a program or with your supervisor, you can have those conversations with them to negotiate when you would start. But basically, the basic term is between May and August, and it can be of various lengths or various start dates. Next up, there are different kinds of positions you can have. Now that the restrictions for COVID-19 have been reduced, there are more people that are coming in for fully in-person research positions, but there may also be options for hybrid or virtual positions. That really comes down to the research that you're doing, if you have to be in the lab or not, the project you're on, as well as the work you're doing and the relationship of what your supervisor wants. So definitely have those conversations. And then the other thing we want to mention is that UHN, you'll have lots of opportunities if you're here for the summer to learn and to attend different opportunities and workshops and scientific seminars. There's lots of programmings. If you're interested, you can engage and really make it a fulfilling experience for the summer. So not only are summer research programs, but there's lots of other training opportunities as well. And we've put together a database here where you can learn about the different offerings that might be available to you if you join UHN through UHN or through working with a U of T professor who is based at UHN. Some of these you'll have access to all automatically, and some of them you might have to join yourself. And we're really excited to have someone from the Cancer 360 program to join us today. We have Sarah Storer, who is the manager of e-learning and curriculum at Princess Margaret, who will tell you a little bit about one of the educational opportunities you may have access to at UHN if you have a summer research position at Princess Margaret. I'll pass it over to Sarah.
Great. Thanks so much, Amanda. I appreciate the time today. Hi, everyone. It's exciting to see so many participants on this call. It's always great to see a new batch of students coming in. As Amanda mentioned, I work in the Cancer Education Department at Princess Margaret. We run a host of different programs for healthcare providers, trainees, learners, but one of the programs I want to tell you about today is the Cancer 360 Plus program. This program is a really exciting opportunity for students in the cancer program at UHN. It runs all summer long. It's a blended learning course. So part of the course is online asynchronous e-learning modules, and then part of it is weekly in-person Q&A sessions with expert guest speakers. And it covers a host of topics within cancer care that aren't typically covered in training. So we cover things like cancer survivorship, Indigenous cancer care, patient perspectives, and even topics that can really extend beyond cancer care. So things like health literacy, knowledge translation, topics that you might typically not get exposure to. Historically, this program has been offered only to summer students with a placement in the cancer program at UHN. But this coming summer, we're actually going to open it up to all students across UHN, all students and trainees. So anyone is welcome to join this program, complete the online course, and attend the in-person Q&A sessions with experts. It's a really great learning opportunity. It's a nice chance to meet and network with other members of different summer programs, and also a great chance to get to speak directly to expert speakers who you might not otherwise have the chance. So this runs all summer long. The weekly Q&A sessions typically happen on a Friday over lunchtime, so we try and make that as easy for you to attend as possible. You're welcome to complete every single aspect of the program, so all 10 modules, attend all of the sessions, or you can kind of pick and choose what appeals the most to you. If you are someone who completes all components of the program, you will receive a certificate of completion, which is a great addition to a CV. And you'll also have the option to participate in the Cancer Education Research Day. So this would give you the chance to compete in a research poster competition or in a lightning talk competition, which is sort of like a short TED-style talk contest. And it's just a really great chance to sort of get your feet wet in this academic presenting environment, get some practice at what conference presentations feel like, and possibly win some awards as well. So it's one of my favorite programs that we run. Again, we've been doing it for many, many years. And so hopefully you will be able to attend as well. For anyone who, for whatever reason, does not end up at UHN, we also have an open, globally available version of the Cancer 360 program. It doesn't have all the same nice little bits and pieces that 360 Plus has, but it does have some of the great background knowledge that you might be interested in as well. I know there's lots more to cover, so Amanda, I will leave it there and happy to answer any questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I personally love the Cancer 360 program, and I know you'll hear later from Zihaf, who is our past UHN summer student who took the program and really enjoyed it as well. So it's great that that's now being offered to everyone. So I hope you take advantage. Okay, so we will move forward with the next part. Now, I hope I've convinced you that doing research at UHN for the summer would be a great experience and will really help in your professional development and your skill development. But the next thing we're going to talk about is how do you actually do that, and how do you apply for those research positions, and how do you secure them? So the vast majority of summer students will take one of three different mechanisms of getting a paid summer position at UHN, and we're going to go through each one in detail. And so the three main mechanisms are applying through a summer research program, applying to a job posting, or contacting UHN scientists directly. Now, there are many summer research programs at UHN as well as at U of T, and they help summer students find research positions with UHN scientists. And so just to be a little bit clear here about the relationship between U of T and UHN, UHN is the hospital network, but most of its science, or many of its scientists, are also affiliated with the University of Toronto. And so we kind of work together to support students. So there are programs that you can apply to at the University of Toronto in their department. So let's say the medical biophysics department, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a second, where you can apply to their program and you will have access to either scientists at UHN as well as scientists across U of T and at other hospitals as well. So I've put together a database of all of the programs that I could think of at UHN or at U of T where you could work for a UHN scientist for the summer. You can see that in our database here. This is just a screenshot, but we have the link here. Again, we'll send it out so you can explore that database and see. For these specific summer research programs here on this list, the programs help you to find a supervisor either by having job postings submitted by the supervisors that then you can apply to directly, or you'll apply to the program and then they'll help match you with a scientist. And so those are the ones that are particularly on this list, are the ones that help facilitate that process of you being connected to a scientist and having a position. And so now I'm just going to go through and highlight a couple of the programs at UHN and UT that do this process for you, or that help you with this process and that you might be interested in. The first one is the Radiation Medicine program at UHN. And this is a program at Princess Margaret specifically, and it offers a summer research opportunity for students to work with researchers and clinicians who are radiation oncologists, medical physics, radiation therapists, and much more. So they're all part of the radiation medicine program. You'll be able to work on a wide variety of projects with a focus on radiation medicine and a supportive interprofessional work environment. And so this program runs over the course of the summer, and you can start at different times depending on the supervisor. They have a great website, and on their website, which is linked here, you'll have be able to look at different research projects submitted by different supervisors who are looking for summer students, and you'll be able to apply to those. And so those job postings come out on in February and March of 2024, and you can see those job postings and apply directly. The deadlines for these are vary depending on the different postings, so just check that out. But basically the timeline you're looking at here is February or March. They also offer a lot of different training opportunities. Well, if you join the program, they have seminars and opportunities to present and lots more. Next up, we have the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research, and we have Samantha, who will be joining us to tell us a little bit more about this program.
Great, Amanda, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you everybody for joining. So the Ted Rogers Center for Heart Research is an organization that brings together staff and faculty from U of T, from UHN, and from Sick Kids to work on research projects related to heart function and heart failure. Every year we do run our summer scholarship program. We recruit from both undergraduate and master students and have this upcoming year 8 positions that will be available. Each of the positions are different, working with specific supervisors on very specific projects related to heart function. These will be posted in mid to late January of 2024. And I encourage everybody to take a look and see if anything aligns with their studies or their research interests, and to please apply. And students will have access to a number of learning opportunities specific to the Ted Rogers Center and to U of T, as well as the other ORT activities that will happen throughout the summer.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sam. And all of their job postings will be posted on the Ted Rogers website as well as on our website. So we'll help bring awareness to those available positions, which are wonderful opportunities. Next up, we have the Sinai Health UHN Geriatrics program, and I believe we have Elsa here to tell you a little bit more.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk a little bit about our summer research program. So my name is Elsa Nana, and I'm a program coordinator based at Mount Sinai, working with the Healthy Aging and Geriatrics program. And over the summer, we run what we call our Sinai Health UHN Geriatric Summer Scholars Program, which is basically open to all students. You just need to at least be an undergrad. We're not very strict in terms of requirements, but you need to be a full-time student and obviously have some kind of interest in the field of geriatrics. We're asking you to commit about 10 to 12 weeks of your summer working with us. It is a paid position, so we do compensate you for your time, but for the projects that are available, you won't know what mentor is hosting what project. So you can't apply for a specific mentor. You just rank whatever projects you like. And then if you get selected for an interview, that mentor will contact you for an interview. And in terms of how to apply, it's only online. You have to submit your cover letter and a CV and rank what projects you're interested in. And then we go through it, and then we select you or may not select you. And then for the deadline, we usually open mid to late January for our projects. So on this link, and I can also put it in the chat, you will have the link to our website. And once that is updated with the projects, you can go ahead and apply. And we keep it open about 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and then we close it and start going through the application packages. So yeah, we're open to everybody. Just be an undergrad, and it doesn't really matter what field you're in, just have an interest in geriatrics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elsa. And I think it's really great to hear all this information, because you can start marketing it in your calendars to make sure you check out for that in January, because you'll be able to apply during that time. Next up, I wanted to highlight one of the programs at the University of Toronto, which is the Medical Biophysics Summer Student Program. So this is in the Medical Biophysics Department at the University of Toronto. And this program is great. A lot of the scientists from Princess Margaret actually hire through the Medical Biophysics program. And through this process, you'll apply to be part of a pool of applicants and you'll express your interest in particular areas. And the scientists go in and look through all the applications and they select people to interview from that pool. So it's a great way to be considered for a lot of different positions at the same time to be able to do research at Princess Margaret. You also will have the opportunity to work with some of their other faculty members that might be at other places like Sunnybrook or at UT. And so for this, the applications are online as well. You can learn more using the links on this slide. We'll also send them out. And this deadline is definitely coming up. The deadline to apply to the pool is January 15th. So check that out and consider applying. It's open now. Another great program that I wanted to highlight is the Research Application Support Initiative. And this is a program that is coming out of the Community of Support at the University of Toronto. And so their program has a goal of increasing diversity in research and healthcare. So what they do is they provide support to students who are interested in research positions who particularly come from Indigenous, Black, Filipino, socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds, or those who identify as having a disability. And the way you would apply to this is by applying to the Community of Support. There's a link here to the application. It goes on through a rolling basis, and their team will help you provide mentorship and support to identify paid research positions that you can apply to. And many of those positions may be at UHN. We've had many RASI students work at UHN in the past. Okay, that was a lot, but hopefully that gives you a glimpse of just some of the summer research programs that you can apply to that can help you find a position. We're now going to jump to the next one, which is actually searching for job postings. This is a kind of a rare route. Not many people, UHN scientists, hire through job postings, but it does happen sometimes. And so these job postings will be posted on the UHN careers page, which is the page where all of the job postings at UHN are on. As well as if we see any of these positions, we'll also put them on our website that I've already linked to you. For example, this is the same place on our website where we'll post the positions when Ted Rogers puts up their calls. So definitely check that out. These are great opportunities because you'll see the posting and you can apply to it directly. So you'll know what the project will be about and you'll know who the supervisor is. So it lowers that barrier. So we'll help as much as we can to make you aware of these opportunities. Next is the path that most people take, and this is, something that's a little bit harder, so we're going to provide support. This is contacting UHN scientists directly. Now here you can take a variety of different approaches to figuring out who you should contact. First, UHN has a database of a list of all the scientists that you can use to find a supervisor, and I'll show you that in a second. But another approach that can be really, really beneficial is by creating and leveraging your network to find a supervisor. And we're going to go through a little bit of advice about how you can do that. So first off, UHN Research has this website, like I mentioned, where you can search all of the scientists at UHN by institute, by research interest, or by name. And so if you know that you're interested in something like bioinformatics, you can search specifically for bioinformatics and you can find a preliminary list of the scientists working at UHN in that area. And that can help you to read more about them, learn about their research, and see if they're working in an area that you would be interested in. It'll also have their contact information so that you can contact them directly. If you know that you want to work in stem cells, then you can also look up specifically the McEwen Stem Cell Institute and look at all of their scientists. Another thing you can do is talk about research opportunities with the people in your network and the people around you. This includes talking to your current or past professors, especially if you go to the University of Toronto and you know that some of them are affiliated with UHN, or you don't have to do research at UHN either. You can talk to your current and past professors wherever you go to school and ask them if they know about anybody hiring or learn about whether there are opportunities in their labs. Another option would be to talk to your teaching assistants for lab courses or tutorials. A lot of the time your teaching assistants are graduate students that are working in labs. And so they'll have an understanding of their lab research and whether their labs are hiring. You can go to recruitment events, go to networking events, go to social events at your university, and just meet people, meet postdocs and professors and graduate students and talk to them about opportunities. And sometimes those personal connections are really what can help make the difference. I got my first research experience by going to a recruitment event for grad school, even though I was still an undergrad. And I met a PI there, we chatted a bunch. And then we set up an interview later so I could talk to her about potentially joining her lab. And so anytime you can make a connection with somebody, it's a great foot in the door compared to emailing somebody. And lastly, you can also check out the websites of different scientists that you're interested in and look at their grad students and postdoc lists. Sometimes they have contact information for those, and you can just reach out to them and ask if you can learn more about their research and learn more about the opportunities in the lab. I know as somebody who was a grad student, I would get way less emails asking for my advice or to meet with me than my boss would. But if I met with a student and thought they were really great and they had an interest in the lab, then I would recommend them to my boss and then we would hire them. So it's a great path that maybe not as many people use. Okay, so the next is, how do I contact a scientist directly? I know this may seem very intimidating, so we want to just help ease the process a little bit by providing some tips. First thing is to definitely email UHN scientists that you're interested in working with. Don't call and don't go to their office. We've seen this a lot when I was in the lab, and PIs are very busy. So you might miss them, but also they probably wouldn't be available at that time. So email them and tell them that you're interested and take that route. In your email, make sure that you're including things like a statement of why you're interested in their research. This shows that you're putting in the effort to learn about what they do, and you're seeing a connection between your skills and your interests and why you would want to actually work there. You want to also include your resume or CV so that they can learn a little bit more about you. And if you feel comfortable, you can also include your transcripts if you think that's something that would help to show a little bit more about you, as well as the courses you've taken and how competitive you would be for a position. You want to make sure that you're always being professional, using professional language, professional titles when you refer to people, making sure you're using language that is appropriate for that audience. You also want to make sure you're personalizing each email so that you're not just using the same email over and over and sending it to lots and lots of people. And importantly, you want to make sure you avoid any grammar and spelling mistakes. Scientists really need to be careful about knowing all the details and being focused on all of those details. So we really take it seriously and we look for that in people. And so that attention to detail is something that scientists will be looking for. Okay. So you also want to just be as clear and succinct as possible. Long emails often will get ignored. You want to get to the point very quickly so that they can be more effective, because as we said, scientists don't have very much time. But of course, that's only my perspective. We're so excited to have Dr. Jennifer Campos here, who is a senior scientist at Kite, to share her perspective on what you can do to tips on how to apply to UHN scientists. So thank you, Jenny, for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I think you have already done an extremely thorough job, Amanda, as usual, going over all of these details that I think you covered the most important ones. I'll just say that I am maybe not in a super unique position, but one thing that makes my position unique is that I'm the chief scientist of those labs at Kite that Amanda had talked about at the beginning with our big driving simulator and our indoor winter simulator. And so I suspect I get a lot of summer student interest because of my position as the chief scientist for those very exciting labs. So it's not uncommon for me to get about 30 emails in a week for undergraduate students who are interested in coming and doing some volunteer work or paid work throughout the year, or specifically in the summer. And so I have to be very efficient with how I triage these requests, because it's not within my bandwidth to be able to, I try to respond at least to all of them, but I can't be extremely thorough all of the time. And so there are some things that will make me triage very quickly. And Amanda already highlighted a few of them. So one is to be very impersonal, I think, in your salutations. So sometimes I get messages that say, "Hi, I'm looking for a summer student position," and they don't even customize it for my name. That's already a red flag. I may not even reply, quite honestly. If you're really casual and say, "Hey, Jenny," and I don't know you, that might also sort of strike me as a little bit unprofessional. So, addressing it to "Hello, Dr. Campos" is always a good first step. So that seems like trivial but that will be my first instinct in terms of whether to even read further. And then the second thing is customization, and Amanda talked about this as well. It's really important for me to know that you've actually read about my research, that you've gone to my lab website and you know clearly what we do, and that you express why it is that you're interested, particularly in what we do, not just about science. And that's wonderful if you're just excited to get exposure to science, but what is it about that we're doing specifically that really resonated with you enough to take the time to apply? And I know that you probably are going to be applying to many, many different summer positions. It's not a bad strategy to apply to multiple professors or scientists to increase your chances, but try not to make a generic message. Try to customize as much as possible. That does take definitely extra time, but it will most surely be rewarding in the end. So customization and personalization is key. Timing is really important. We've already heard about that during the presentation, but we are typically asked by UHN to let them know by mid-March as to whether we're onboarding summer students. And if you think about the fact that we have a lot of really interested candidates, we really have to work backwards from that. So we have to decide, maybe 2 weeks, the beginning of March, who we're going to bring on, so that we can start the process of getting them in the system and onboarded. But we also have to interview people. And so then you go a few weeks earlier than that. And then we have to sort of take the list of all the people who've expressed interest and shortlist them to interview them. And now you're looking at January. So we usually are starting our process of kind of curating our list of potential candidates in January. We start doing interviews in February, and then we make offers in March. And every lab is going to be different. But I don't think that's an uncommon timeline, especially because at UHN, they typically do want to know mid-March so that they can help with the mass onboarding of summer students in May, which doesn't give them too much time. I saw a couple of messages, and Amanda cut me off with the hook when my time is up, but I'll maybe make one more comment. I saw a few messages in the chat and in the Slido that asked about what if I don't have any experience and I'm applying? That's okay. In fact, most of the summer students who come and work in our lab do not have any research experience because they're coming from their undergraduate studies at different stages. And most people are getting that experience maybe when they do a thesis in their 4th year. And a lot of undergrads are doing summer, are taking on summer positions well before they're beginning their theses. So it's far less about having that experience specifically, but instead what it's about is helping us as scientists understand what skills you do have, what experiences you have had, and how you think that makes you well suited for learning in the environment of a lab. We fully appreciate that the learning curve is going to be steep, and that's okay. Everyone has that same set of expectations. So just coming into it with an open mind and a lot of enthusiasm. Quite honestly, that is what, at the end of the day, really I think sets people apart in terms of who we ultimately bring in. It's the people that just show a lot of sort of motivational interest, dedication, and enthusiasm about what we're doing. They ask a lot of questions and show sort of genuineness. And that goes, I think, beyond, skill sets that you may have developed in a research lab previously. And so those are the types of things I would focus on and not worry so much about coming into it without any specific experience. So I'll leave it at that, but I'm also happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And I just want to echo what you said. You were spot on. I've interviewed lots of summer students in my previous position too. And having curiosity and having good critical thinking skills and showing that you've done the work to understand the research, that goes a long way, and it goes a lot further than, you know, you may have research experience, but you don't show that passion. And I'm always more excited to work with somebody who's excited and eager to learn. So it can really make a big difference, even if you don't have research experience. So I know we're running short on time. I promise I will stay as long as you want, and I will answer all of your questions, but we'll just get through a little bit more. One more thing that I want to share, which is an advice from a past UHN summer student. We're so excited to have Sihat here, who was a summer student last summer at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and he is also a McMaster student. And so Sihat is going to share some tips with you.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, my name's Siad Singhabahu, and I'm a biochemistry student at McMaster. So last summer, I worked on a myelofibrosis research project at Princess Margaret. It was in the Department of Medical Oncology and Hematology, and it was kind of unique because I didn't work in an actual lab. Instead, I worked in a clinical research under a physician directly. So a lot of people ask me how I got it. So I know you're probably tired of hearing it, but it's obviously networking, and that can look different for everybody. But for me, I had personal connections that gave me like a bunch of different emails. And what I do, I just cold email a bunch of different physicians trying to get positions. And I'd be referred from one to another to another. And it just was a very long process, but eventually I landed on one. And so yeah, it takes a lot of work, but that's what it takes. But yeah, I have faith that all of you will try and get a position, and I believe in you. But I do have tips for when you actually do have a position, and I would have felt a lot more comfortable doing my research if I knew these things. So number one, it's don't be afraid to ask questions. So I really struggled with this during my research because I kept thinking, oh, if I ask my supervisor a question, they're gonna think I don't know anything or I'm not cut out for it. And that's just, you can't think that way because you need to ask questions. You don't know everything. You're student researchers. You're there to learn just as much as you are to work. So yeah, and obviously they know you're not experts in the field. So just don't be afraid to ask questions because it'll really help you. If I asked as many questions as I needed to, I would have got my research done a lot faster than I did. And number two, it's to go after every opportunity that's presented to you. So as mentioned earlier, there's like many different programs and courses you can take, and they're kind of like supplemental to your actual research. So the ones I did were the Summer Training and Research Program, which is a STAR program, and the Cancer 360 Plus program. So I really recommend you do as many courses as you want because they teach you so many different things you don't learn in school, and you also don't learn during your research. For example, the STAR program, it taught me just many general skills such as how to use LinkedIn and how to network and how to build a resume. And they taught it so much more in depth than I've learned in the past. So that was really helpful to me for my career as well as for school. And also the Cancer 360 program, it was just, I found it very enlightening because I learned so much about different perspectives in cancer care, and whereas my research was just about cancer, blood cancer. So learning about the different perspectives was so enlightening while I did my research. And going off those programs, that brings me to my third tip, which is don't be afraid to take criticism and learn from it. So for a little context, both the STAR and Cancer 360 Plus programs, they had presentation competitions where you'd present about your summer research experience so far. And so I submitted presentations to both. And I remember for the STAR program, I was very focused on talking about what my research was, all the nitty-gritty details. And yeah, I now looking back at it, I realized it was pretty boring. And I remember being disappointed when I didn't get selected as a winner for that presentation. But I went to the conference anyways, and I watched everyone else's presentations, all the winners, and I took note of how I could improve in the future. And I remember I also talked to Amanda after for the first time, and she gave me some feedback as well. And yeah, so I really took note of, oh, what did they do well? And I realized they were all kind of personable to their presentation. They had something that made their experience unique. So I really thought about that, and then I told Amanda that I would work harder to make a better presentation for the Cancer 360 Plus program, which is what I did. I ended up making it more unique to me and my experience. And because of that, I ended up winning an award for the Cancer 360 Plus program for my presentation. So that would have never happened if I just gave up after the first failure in the STAR program. And I just didn't submit my presentation for the Cancer 360 Plus program. I would have never won that award. So I think it's really important to take criticism well and learn from your failures, because even when you're applying to positions, cold emailing, you're gonna get failures. You're gonna not hear back from some people. You got to learn from those and just keep trying. And my last tip is to just love what you do and stay encouraged, because your position might be hard. It might be a lot of work and a lot of thinking. And if you're a high school student or an undergrad student or even a medical student, it may be very out of your comfort zone. I know it was for me. It was the first time I had to really use my brain and think as hard as I could. And yeah, my position was also full-time positions during the summer. So I would go to work before my mom, I'd come home after my mom. So it really felt like I was out in the real world for the first time. And that was kind of discouraging. It was kind of scary. So to take those thoughts away, I'd always remind myself of the impact that my research is going to have. And that made me love my research. And so, yeah, no matter what you do, what your research is, you should always remember that you're going to leave a positive impact on the world, on people. And I think that's the most rewarding part of working on research. So, yeah, just keep that in mind and keep all these tips in mind. And yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck for applying to research positions.
Thank you so much, Ziad. I think that's such valuable advice, especially not giving up, because the process of finding a research position can sometimes be really challenging and take a really long time. So I know we're at 12:58, so if any of the speakers have to leave or any of the participants have to leave, that's totally okay. We will send out the recording and the slides later. I have 2 more slides, and then I will stay for as long as it takes and answer all of your questions. If you have to leave, please submit your question in Slido, and I will answer it and share that with you later. And I just wanted to say, if you've appreciated the advice that Ziad has, given we're having another session in January that will be specifically advice from undergrads for undergrads of how to get started in research. This is going to cover lots of different topics about how to figure out what you're interested in, how to find those positions, and how to make the most of your summer or research positions. So definitely check that out. The link will be sent out in the email I'll send out, and just give you another opportunity to talk to undergrads and ask them questions about getting involved in research. Last thing I want to mention is that it's also useful to get summer research awards. This is something that's not mandatory. A lot of the PIs will have funding to hire you regardless if you win an award. But these awards can be something helpful to add to your CV or resume, and can also help you in finding a position if you get the award ahead of time. There are awards offered by lots of different groups, including summer student programs, professional societies related to your research field, or granting agencies like the Canadian Institute for Health Research, or CIHR, and the National Sciences and Engineering Research, NSERC. I forget all of the words in that, but they also have grants for undergrad research. I've again created a database with all of the information about all of those different opportunities that you can check out. There are also awards in there that are exclusively available to students who identify as Black or Indigenous. So if you belong to one of those populations, definitely check that out, because that could be a great way to help you to get a summer research job. And so now we're at time. I want to say thank you so much to all of our speakers who would come here to share their experiences. And I'm going to stop sharing my slides, and I'm going to, we'll open it up. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to add them to the Slido. And I promise that we will cover as many of them as possible. Okay, so let's get started. First is, when is the best time to reach out to for summer students positions, and how hard is it to get one? And so I think Dr. Campos covered this already. I think the best time is as soon as possible, especially starting now. Many of the PIs will make their decisions starting in January or February. You know, it's always useful to be one of the first applications they see instead of some of the last applications they see. But also I know students who reached out to professors in April and still got positions. So it depends on the individual PI, how many applications they get, how many spots they have available, and everything like that. They all hire in different ways. But if you can, I would encourage you to reach out as soon as possible. As Dr. Campos said, every PI will get a different number of applications based off of their exposure and how interested people are in their field. And so the success rates can be very different. So it's hard to advise on that, but just try not to be discouraged and just try to apply to positions and see what can happen. The next question is, what type of students are successful at finding research at UHN for the summer, and how do you select the candidates? Again, I know that Dr. Campbell's already answered a lot of this, but I'll just reinforce some of those points. So anybody can find a summer research position at UHN, but I think the people that are the most successful at finding those positions are ones that are curious, that put the work into creating good applications, that really personalize the applications, really show interest in the research going on in that lab, and can clearly describe any skills that they have that make them right for that job. And so, for example, in those emails, you might want to highlight courses that you've taken that are relevant to that field of research, because that will help show that you have some familiarity with it. You could also highlight any opportunities you've had in the past, either paid or unpaid, that have helped you to build skills that might be useful for that position. And that doesn't have to be research skills. It could also be leadership positions or lab-based courses that you've taken where you've had exposure to some research, or UHN seminar that you attended, or things like that. Anything you can do to show that you're interested in that field and that you may have some experiences or things that have showed your interest in that area. Candidates, each lab or each physician or scientist is their own business. So they all select candidates in different ways. Some of them may look at grades, some of them may look at research experience, some of them may look for people who are passionate about the research. Everybody makes their decision process in different ways. I think you can give yourself the best shot at being competitive for a position by applying early, making good application materials, and really focusing on selling the experiences that you have and what makes you a good candidate. Somebody's asking, will there be fully remote positions available for students who come from out of province? And I would say that that is definitely possible. There are some research positions where they do literature reviews on different topics, and that work can be done virtually from far away. I think it depends on each individual supervisor, so it would be important as you reach out to people to make it clear that you're looking for a remote position, and maybe try to think about what labs or scientists you want to apply to that have work that can be done virtually. So maybe you don't want to apply to a basic science research lab where the research is done in person. That would give you a better shot. Somebody's asking, are there grade requirements for applying to research positions? And the answer is no. There's no grade requirements at all. There's no cutoff you have to have for applying for positions. As mentioned before, though, each individual person, scientist or PEI or program even, might have different requirements, and they might have cutoffs based off of how competitive those programs or labs are. So it's up to each person to make that decision. But overall, you can work at UHN without any restrictions. If I'm graduating this summer, am I still able to apply? Yes. So if this is your last year of undergrad and you will no longer be a student in September, you can still apply. The positions are slightly different in title based off of the fact that you're not a student anymore, but there's still opportunities available. Some of the programs might also have that eligibility and might have different requirements for that. Another question is, what if I'm a first year and don't have my grades out? Any advice for us without any experience? So you don't have to submit your transcripts or grades if you don't want to. So that's not a hindrance if you don't have those to put in your applications. If you feel strongly about your high school grades, you can include those if you want to show your academic achievements, but you don't have to do that either. And I think we've already given a lot of advice for people without experience. It's really about showcasing the other things that are great about you and your passion and your curiosity. I love when I meet with people or interview people for positions and they've actually read some of the papers and they've thought about some of the questions and they show that critical thinking. That kind of stuff is really important and really gets me excited to work with them. So I think as long as you have passion, you can get an experience for a research experience for sure. It might be a little bit more challenging to sell your experiences if you don't have a research experience, but I think it's definitely possible. Lots of students get positions coming out of first year. How can students in their later years of undergraduate who do not have prior research experience highlight their strengths for the application? I think this is a great point, and it is another a lot of the advice that we said about people without research experience early in their degrees still fits here. So here, because you're later in your undergrad degree, you can highlight a lot of your course experience, especially courses related to the fields that you're interested in. You could highlight any of the lab courses, like I mentioned, or any other experiences you've had in leadership or in volunteering that might be relevant. But what you're really selling here is your maturity. You're later in your degree, so you have more scientific knowledge and more scientific training, even if it's not specifically in research. You can also talk about your career aspirations. So if you're looking into graduate school and you want to get research experience before graduate school, that can be really compelling for scientists who are looking to hire not only for undergrads, but they're also thinking about hiring grad students in the future. So I think it's really about highlighting the skills that you do have outside of your research that you've learned from being an undergrad for many years. Are there any pharmacy research positions available? If so, what are some good ways to stand out? I think healthcare learners like pharmacists also do research at UHN, and they can have many really important positions or roles because they have experience in a different area that's really useful. And so I would highly recommend that when looking for research positions, if you're coming from a pharmacy or other healthcare learner background, that you're looking for specific scientists who have research related to your skills where you might have that advantage there. And really highlighting in your applications what the benefit of having that pharmacy background would be. I think there's lots of people in the healthcare space that are nurses, speech pathologists, and all of those that are doing research at UHN. So you can also find those people. So find pharmacists at UHN that are doing research and reach out to them and see if they're hiring or if they can recommend other places for you to work. How should you apply to work in the Kite and Crumble Institute? Should we reach out to researchers by cold emailing, or is there a program to apply through? I'm not aware specifically of summer programs at Kite or Crumble. You can look up the departments at U of T where they have a lot of their scientists. For example, Kite, it has a lot of their scientists are in the Rehabilitation Sciences Institute at the University of Toronto. You can check out if they have a summer student program. But other than that, cold emailing works a lot, and especially if there aren't dedicated summer student programs there, the scientists will be used to receiving applications by cold emailing, so that would be a really popular route. Are there summer research positions that are not only for one summer, but are continuous over multiple summers? That's a great question. We hire for this summer in particular, but lots of people stay on for thesis or project courses during the year or paid positions over the year. I know I was talking to Seth before this, and he's continued working on his project on the side, in addition to being back at school. You also, if you build a really good relationship in that lab, you are welcome to go back the next year. It's up to the relationship that you have and the needs of you and your supervisor. Somebody's asking, do you have to be a student at U of T to apply? And nope, you can be part of any university or any program. So if you're in college, it's any college. If you're in university, any university, there's no restrictions at all. And that's even for the summer programs at U of T. So if you're applying to the medical biophysics summer program, the medical biophysics part is the PIs. The PIs or scientists are all part of medical biophysics. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to be part of medical biophysics. And in all actuality, medical biophysics doesn't have an undergrad program. So nobody's part of medical biophysics. So you can apply from any school or any program. Okay, there's some questions about clinical research and global health or public health. Like CHAP mentioned, lots of the physicians at UHN also do research, and so you can work for a clinician. You can also work on different projects that have clinical research. We have lots of summer students last summer that worked on projects where they were interacting with patients, taking interviews from patients, or working on patient data in databases. So there's lots of clinical research happening at UHN, and you can use the database to try and identify those scientists to apply to. They're also working global health and public health, and again, you can use that database to identify those people. We will be sharing the recording and the PowerPoint from today to everybody after this. There's a question about the UHN Pathway to Research program. That is a program that is we've launched this year for the first time. I didn't talk about it today because we've already selected the people who will be part of that program. And if you are one of those people, then yes, absolutely, we will help you find a research position at UHN. That's a new program that we've launched that is a partner with UHN STEM Pathways, which is the UHN's outreach program. We're very excited to expand it in the future. Okay, so I think I've answered a lot of the questions. Somebody's asking, is it possible to do summer school along with this position? That's up to you and your supervisor. Some people work part-time, or some people arrange their schedule around their school or studying for the MCATs or anything else. So that's something you'd have to work with your supervisor to decide. UHN summer positions can be used as university co-op terms. So if you're part of a co-op program and you're looking for a work position for the summer, you can definitely use a summer research position for that. That's actually how I got my first, or I did that because I did a co-op program when I was in the summer. So that's really fun. When cold emailing scientists, do you suggest mentioning their publications? If so, which ones should we read, as there are often a lot of publications? It is something you can do if you're interested in reading their publications. I wouldn't just mention them. If you're going to mention their research, you want to go into detail and talk about their research and what interests you about it. So it's not necessarily like just showing that you've done the work by reading a publication. It's showing what parts interest you and how you think you could contribute that. So it's picking, areas of research of their lab that you're the most interested in and highlighting that. And if you want to add a research publication mentioned in there, you can ask a question from the paper that you had left hanging so that you can show that interest, but you don't have to. We have a question: how many hours per week do students typically work? And the vast majority of positions are between 35 and 37.5 hours per week, but that is also flexible. So your contract can be whatever you would like and your supervisor would like, so you can work that out together if you want a more flexible schedule. Okay, so I've covered most of the questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to our office at ortadmin@uhn.ca, or you can email me directly. I just want to thank all of our speakers for coming here. Everybody, each one of you, for joining us. We will be sending out the recording and the slides. And we'd really appreciate if you take a couple of moments and fill out the feedback form that Jordan has put in the chat. Thank you.